Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back to another episode of Connect with the Quran. You're with your host, Najman Sari. And today we'll be looking at Surah Maryam. So I'd love you to just listen to this recording before we start, and then we'll get into it, inshallah. So, Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كافها يا عين صاد ذكر رحمة ربك عبده زكريا إذ نادى ربه نداء خفيا قال رب إني وهن العظم مني واشتعل الرأس شيبا ولم أكن بدعائك رب شقيا وإني خفت الموالي من ورائي وكانت امرأتي عاقرا فهب لي من لدنك وليا يرثني ويرث من آل يعقوب واجعله رب رضيا يا زكريا إنا نبشرك بغلام اسمه يحيى لم نجعل له من قبل سميا قال رب أنى يكون لي غلام وكانت امرأتي عاقرا وقد بلغت من الكبر عتيا قال كذلك قال ربك هو علي هين وقد خلقتك من قبل ولم تك شيئا قال رب اجعل لي آية قال آيتك ألا تكلم الناس 3 ليال سويا
Sadaqallah al-Azim. So that was a beautiful passage from the start of Surah Maryam from ayahs 1 to 10. And I'd just like to, I hope you're able to check the translation as it comes on the screen before that. But a couple of things. From this surah, Surah Maryam, Surah Taha, and Surah Anbiya thereafter, I'm going to take the theme of du'as, the importance of du'as, so that will be the focus of where I'm going to try and take you with it. And the highlight on this surah also, to start with at the very beginning, how Zakaria alayhi salam asks, he makes a dua to Allah. And the nida and khafiya, it's so beautiful, because nida is actually when you speak loudly, when you are like yay or something, and the khafiya is quiet. So it's like in the quiet of your room, your soul is totally shouting out Subhanallah. So that's the sense I get of it when I looked at the tafsir and things. So I love that. And then so he's cried to his Lord in secret, but the nida actually implies that it's loud and it's full. So that's just there. Then what he prays with is that look how you always put your limitations first in your du'as, that you put your own limitations, like he said about that I'm getting old and my bones and so on, but I've never been unblessed. So this is the beauty of despite your despondency or whatever you say, but we've never been blessed. So take home the message to what we are going through today and the horror that's going on. You say, but we still have this infinite trust in Allah that He's going to take care of it. He's going to just make it all come right for us. And we continue to make dua. We continue to do what we can, but this is the dua. So this is when he did it in his darkest, in his moments of quiet. And he says, what my family would, because you also worry, and it's not worry about him wanting a progeny to continue his name. It was more he just wanted somebody who will continue the work. And sometimes you see many, I've heard of many mufassir who've been busy writing, and many of them haven't managed to finish. Even like if you look at the Jalalain, one started it, but somebody else finished it. And while they are busy wanting to put forth Allah's words, the dawah, all those things, they are worried about the time when they're gone and they're not going to be able to express it. And then they trust that, Ya Allah, let there be somebody else who carries this forth. So that was basically what Zakaria alayhi salam was hoping for and wanting to pass on to him. So he says, we give you the good news, and his name is Yahya, and it's never been given to anybody before. So that's significant. Yahya also comes from life, the word. And look, subhanAllah, he actually didn't have a long life. But he was like a precursor for Isa alayhi salam. So here we're starting with Zakaria alayhi salam as a precursor, and Yahya was his mother's cousin. He was Mary alayhi salam, so Maryam alayhi salam's cousin, because Zakaria alayhi salam was the uncle of Maryam alayhi salam. So that's all just interesting to know. But anyway, so he said, how will I have a son? And he said, because, I'm in old age and my wife hasn't been barren and all that. And Allah said, no, that's easy for me and it will happen. So then, subhanAllah, look how, and if you look at these videos today of how many people are reading the Quran, and there was one which said, if I get this sign in the Quran, then I'm going to revert. So subhanAllah, for whatever it's worth for them, may it be good for them. But in other words, the concept of asking for signs is from the bottom of your heart. Not that you want the angel to come down or whatever, but this is a prophet asking for. He says, how will I, give me a sign. And so the sign is that you will be silent for 3 days. This is where I wanted to come. Before, the fasting was not only of eating, there was a fasting of speech also. And this will come up again also with Bibi Maryam alayhi salam. And so lots of things come out of that. So if he's not talking, how is he going to say I'm not talking? Is it going to be with signs or whatever? So that's for us to extrapolate and take out of it. But for me, this beautifully joins in with what came before in Surah Kaf, when it was with Zulqarnain, and he was with the people who didn't understand a word, and then they still managed to communicate, and they told him that if it's the one, and he knew exactly what they needed and what they wanted. So there too, whether it's through interpreters, whether it's through sign language, whether it's through other ways, communication is more than just through utterances. So that's what came importance, and how if it is about language barrier, then I keep reiterating we need to love our Arabic, and how beautiful would it be if the whole Muslim Ummah would use Arabic as their mainstay, as the language in which we communicate and we do. Extrapolating from this, I'm also coming to the idea of social media and social network. Now, how much has the time, like fitna, bad things happening from the time of the Nakaba, from the time of the Pharaoh, there's always been bad stuff happening. When it happened in this century or the last century with the Nakaba and and all of that, we would get that information many days later. It wasn't instantaneous like it is today. So this war that's been taken onto the cyberspace, into the social media platforms, and how it's all about algorithms, getting more things, more of your yays and nays and all of those things. So that's also a form of communication. And I'm just extrapolating that whenever you see from the Quran a story which seems historically fixed, that this is about them and their, always take home what is the message in it for you, for us, for how do we apply it. So definitely the importance of dua, definitely the importance of do whatever you can in whatever means you can, use whatever you have, whether it's at the shop. And sometimes we don't have to be talking. I keep reiterating, it's in our behavior that it is. And what is it, the people of Palestine, they are making an impact on the non religious world at large, the West, and they just marvel as how they have the grip on their iman, the grip of being steadfast. And we hear just small pockets of, of the oppressors and what happens to their army, their military, and how they're in a panic. Yes, it's easy for them to throw bombs from up there, but on the ground to ground level, you know, when it's a bit more equal, the play, then they're in a panic. And so much so, I may have said it before, but I found it powerful, that the reason why people derail, and maybe after the Holocaust, why so many Jews left their faith and became atheistic, or just, you know, we are Zionists, but we don't really, you know, believe in the Torah as such, and so on. Supposedly, one of the conclusions was it happened because they lost faith in a God who would do such things. Here, the atrocities are even more than that, the way it's being done, and more because it's being watched by the whole world. And yet those people, they say, we've got Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil, you know, whether it's you governments of the Arabs or whatever, and whatever, you know, so-called the rationality or the reasonableness or the UN charters and all those suddenly come up. These are all excuses until we connect with Allah. And like he did, he said, I'm old, what's going to happen? And Allah said, so be it, I'm going to give you Yahya. And that's it. And the beautiful ayah was salamun alayhi yawmin walidtu wa yawma yumitu wa yawma yubasu hayya. And so when Yahya alayhi salam, he was given, he said, hold on to the book with might. We've given you wisdom even in your youth, and be hananan, be with all creatures in goodness, and he was devout and kind to his parents. So here what you're going to see beautifully further on also, that each prophet was given a beautiful thing. His was, he was going to be good to his parents, and he was not going to be a Jabbaran Asiya. He was not going to be overbearing nor rebellious. So these are beautiful things. That was his beautiful thing. And so we'll continue with that. That's where the first story ends, but we'll just go for a short break and then come back with Maryam alayhi salam story. So just hold it there, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. We are looking at Surah Maryam, and from ayahs 1 to 15, we just had the story of Zakaria in a snippet, in a nutshell, but it was about his dua, and he said, what does he do? So when he came out, and this is what he told the people, and then he had Yahya, and a very brief description on Yahya, what his sifat was, what he was. He wasn't rebellious, and he was good to his parents. Now we're coming on to the story, relate in the book, the story of Maryam, as she withdrew to place in the east. And the beauty of Maryam alayhi salam's story, as it came in Al Imran and so on, that she was under the guardianship of her uncle, and she lived as a pious purity girl within the temple. There was a hujra, there was a cordoned off area for her where there was just a room or whatever, but the only person who had access to her was Zakaria alayhi salam. And then we have that beautiful passage, I think it's in Al Imran, about when he comes in and she's always got fruit, and he said, Laki hada, how does this happen to you? And she said, this is from Allah, that He is a risk provider. The point being that her purity was attested by everybody, that she was pure, and she lived where she lived. So it's only when she was given that the ruh was blown into her, and she was going to have her son, and she was a bit, oh gosh, what's going to happen now? How does it happen? So that story is taken in a nutshell. And he said, so it will be, and it's easy for me. The same phrase repeated about Yahya. So it is with me. She said, nobody's touched me. So how can you? And in ayah 21, it says that for Allah, it's easy, and the sign it is, and it's going to be a sign for people. So again, the slow thing, we need to pick up on signs, and be able to see Allah's mercy in everything, whether it's a tsunami, whether it's a bombarding on Palestine. see the signs of Allah, see Allah's hand at work. So was Yahya alayhi salam was born, now Maryam alayhi salam is having Isa alayhi salam, and so she retired to a remote place, and then in 23 and 24, when it's about her giving birth, even that is captured in the Quran, and how she is in hardship and struggling and with the pains of it, and she's told to shake the palm tree towards her. Now again, what we extrapolate from all those ayahs 21, 23, 24, 25, and 26 is, one, you do your bit. You can't be shaking a tree and expecting the fruit to come out. It's not, especially in that state that you are. But Allah said, shake it, the fruit will come down. But you do your bit. Then also the fact that uh, the angel also said, there's be a rivulet under you, and you will find, solace in it. Eat and drink and cool your eyes. And again, if anybody comes to you, you say, I am fasting, and I won't be talking to anybody. So how did she do it? In signs, in words? Was she allowed to say that much, or what, or so on? And then when she brings the people, when she brings Isa alayhi salam, and she again, they said, what did you do? How is this happening? She points at the baby, and they said, what are we going to do? Talk to the baby? And then he talks, and it's beautiful. And this is Qala inni Abdullah wa atani al-kitaba wa ja'alni nabiya. And this is when he says a baby, this is what he says. So the beautiful thing for me, the take home there is, look, he's Abdullah. Abdullah is the best of the best of the best names. And in fact, in our sunnah, we have it, the two best names to name your sons is Abdullah or Abdul Rahman. That's just by the way, but again, Abdullah does come here so clearly. And then he said, he didn't make me overbearing. I'm going to be good to my mother, and peace on the day that I was born, peace on the day that I'll die, and peace on the day when I'm raised again. And so, and it continues there that it's not befitting in the majesty of Allah that he should beget a son. All he has to do is say, kun fayakun. So again, this is connecting with Surah Kaf, that where we started off with Tawheed, the wrong thing, Nauzubillah, he did not have a son. And towards the end, again, back to Tawheed, of if you want to do Tawheed, you do Amal Saleh, and this is what you do. This is in the very last ayah of Surah Kaf. So pick it up on there. So here ends Maryam alayhi salam story, and then we come with the story of Abraham and others. And the beautiful thing is, of Ibrahim alayhi salam story coming in here. Again, they're in brief, but they're giving you a snippet of the continuation of two things. Of the concept of Tawheed. Tawheed runs from the Prophet, from the time of Adam alayhi salam to all of them. And you're getting snippets of the challenges they had, of what they had to do. So here from ayah 41, we're getting the challenges of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And and at the end, also, this is also a beautiful take-home message, is when he says, Salamun alayka in ayah 47, and that I will pray to my Allah for forgiveness for you. And he did, until he was told that you don't pray for the disbelievers. So again, look how up to now, it's Yahya good with his parents, Isa good with his mother. Ibrahim alayhi salam was as good as he could be with his with his father, and then he was still told to get away from there, and we will stone you, so get away. So that also happened. And then after that, you have the story of Moses, of Harun alayhi salam, and here what he was given, that he was enjoined to his people prayer and charity. Kana yamuru ahlahu bisalate wa zakate wa kana inda rabbihi mardiya. And then this was most acceptable, acceptable to Allah. After that, we have a few other Anbiya. Idris alayhi salam, they say Idris alayhi salam came after Nuh alayhi salam, and he was the one who was given the discovery, or from there on the pen started, the concept of writing started. Maybe they communicated in another way before that, and so on. And then it talks back about Nuh alayhi salam, about Ibrahim, Israel, and all of them. they were in sajda. So it's just drawing the continuation of all the prophets had the same message of Tawheed, the Risala, that they were the ones you had to follow, and of Akhirah. So the we'll come to this in the next two surahs about how Tawheed makes it integral to have a concept of Akhirah. And in fact, what is it that's making the people in Palestine survive what they're doing? They said they've gone to Jannah. We talk about the airwaves on top of Gaza. They're full of traffic of Shaheed being going there. And how entrenched, where the child understands the full concept of it all. But he says, my brother's in Jannah. And we are there and we are ready for. And the main thing to know is that it's about your tawheed and your iman that is at stake, and the tawakkul that goes in. And this is what we are witnessing, horror and sorrowful as it is, horrifying and sorrowful as it is. It's like, in the worst of situation, when you see people of iman, it's a boost to your own morals. Instead of despairing, and Allah says, "La taqnatu min rahmatillah." In Surah Zumar, I think it comes that don't despair in the mercy of Allah. It's always there, whether you see it or you don't see it. You speak, you do whatever you can within, and they talk about what should we be doing? Should we be boycotting? Should we be doing this? Do whatever you can at the maximum level, whatever you can, and at the minimum level, as a homebody, I don't go out, I don't do this, I don't. Again, back to the dua. And the dua is put right up there as the power of the dua. So those are the kind of things that we need to really draw from, like the hadith that goes, you try and fix it with your hand. If you can't, you at least think of it as bad. And then if you can't, you at least in your heart, you think it bad. So we have a whole gamut of, the whole range of things to do. Dua. And the dua isn't just a base level and then you stop making dua. The beauty is that those people, those mujahid who are fighting, they are all huffaz. They are taking in people who are hafiz, who are praying before they go into battle. And that's what we must make sure that we don't lose the plot. And sometimes, yes, you have to answer what is thrown at you in the same vein, in the same conversation, but we don't lose or reduce our standard of ethics and punch them to bring out foul stuff about them or other things. You can imply it or whatever, but the beauty Allah says is, the beautiful many ayahs, which is not coming to me, about truth holds by itself. It holds by itself. There was another sheikh who said the fact that as truth imbues, exists, precedes, and exists beyond all things, it can always be found. So stick with the truth, stick with the ethics, and the take-home message from today of Surah Maryam for me, which I'd love to take for you and find solace in it for myself, is about dua, dua and dua. Whether now in the next few surahs we will get into the duas of the particular prophets. So do we do that? Should we try and memorize that? But memorize them with an intent that it hits us in our heart, not just as a surface level. And always link whatever you're going, whether it's in your home, in your family, bring that dua to make it meaningful. And always remember, La taqnatu min rahmatillah. Never despair in the mercy of Allah. So with that, I'll call it a day today, and inshallah till we meet next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. La 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 la.